Today I'm gonna show you how to knit this Xoxo Raglan dog sweater. Let's get started. Please check my description box for all the details. I put links you might want to check before you start. This time I add XOXO Kiss and Hug cable design. On the back, also both shoulders. Raglan sweater, so there is sleeves. And front piece shorter than back piece. Before we start, let's talk about my swatch and gauge. I have 25 stitches width and 4" with 4mm needle. My dog neck measurement is 11". So 4" versus 11" equal 25 stitches versus my cast on X stitch. 4x equal 11 times 25. X equal 11 times 25 divided by 4. X equal 68.75. My cast on should be multiple of 6. So I choose 72. And reason why I picked this number, because later on I will divide this number by 6. And I call this number as magic number, and I want you to have magic number, even number. So I choose 72. Let's cast on. Again, cast on number should be multiple of 6, and when I divide it by 6, magic number should be even number. So I made 72 cast on. After this, I will connect both ends and then work as in round. So make sure you are facing to right side. And I'm going to use magic loop technique. If you never ever done it, please go to my description box. There is a link. Also, if you have right length of the cable, you don't really have to do the magic loop technique. Anyway, the rib, repeat of knit 1 and purl 1. You really have to be very careful on first row, because from the second row you just knit over knit stitch and purl over purl stitch. So if you make mistake on first row, your rib will be ruined. All right? And the neck rib should be your desired length. So whenever you had enough, just stop it. And I knitted it about 2", little over 2", I believe. And this is good enough for me. So I am going to knit 1 round before I start increasing. And in this prep row, I would like to add markers. This is my basic dog sweater. It's pretty much, the front piece and back piece. And around the mid chest, I increase. However, this is Raglan sweater. This is the one I knitted it before. The Raglan is, you have to increase stitches around sleeves. There you go. That's the front piece and 2 sleeves. So there's the increasing rule first of all, you have to divide by each section. So whole stitch divided by 6. That's gotta be your magic number. My magic number is 72 divided by 6, which is 12. So that's where I start, the first shoulder, and then that's one magic number. And next should be front piece, one magic number, and next would be the other side of the sleeve. So one magic number 3 times. The right leg, front chest, and left leg. So that's gonna be magic number times 3, which means the leftover should be back piece, which is half of whatever you have. So for me, magic number times 3, so 36 stitches. That's how you divide and add marker. So as you can see, start with biggie marker, knit 12. I just told you I'm gonna knit 1 round and then add in marker, right? So you really have to, figure it out, your magic number, which is the cast on number divided by 6. For me, okay, I started knit 12, that's my magic number. So if your magic number is different number, just magic number times 1. So I knit 12, then I add marker. You know what I'm saying? From the beginning marker to next marker, that's gotta be dog's right leg, sleeve, whatever, okay? And then next to right sleeve, that's gonna be dog's front chest, and that's magic number times 1. For me, 12. So I need another 12 and then add marker again. So I will divide by 4 places, right? 2 sleeve, 1 front, and 1 back. And I just add second marker, and there you go. The left shoulder, left sleeves. So knit another 12, same as right side, right? Then add another marker, and rest of the stitch should be for dog's back, which is magic number times 3. For me, 36 stitch left for the back. That's how you divide it. But this is not done yet because I am going to add cable design, right? So anyway, just finish prep round. Okay, so let's see first. That's the biggie marker and right leg, mid front, and left legs. And rest of them is dog's back. That's how I add the marker. And now I want to add temporary marker for design. Design needs 10 stitches, and I am going to add design on both legs, also for the back. The back part, I am going to add 2 design. So 1 each for the leg and 2 for the back. And I have 12 stitch. So in the center of everything, you should add 2 markers to have 10 stitches for design. So at least 1 left. And I'm not going to add cable design on the chest because that's too much. So if you don't have stitch more than 12, you have to kind of wait until you will have the enough stitch count. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm going to increase stitches, right? So for the back part, it's up to you. You can add only 1, 3, 4. It doesn't really matter. And I'm just trying to, you know, balance it out, one each side. So I'm just going to add temporary marker. I don't like this temporary marker when I'm knitting. So on the first round, I'm gonna actually change. But right now, I need to use the clip-on marker. All right. So make sure you have 10 stitch for cable design, and you need at least 1 stitch outside of the design marker. Anyway, now I want to talk about increasing. I will increase every other row. However, the repeat complete on row number 4, then row number 1, I increase every marker. Please don't get confused. Marker, increasing marker is the blue one, not the cable marker. All right? So biggie marker and light blue for me, the 3 of them, right? That's the place I am going to increase. Row number 2, I'm not going to increase. Then row number 3, I only increase inside of the legs. So right there and right there, not outside of the legs. Well, I'll show you, so don't worry about it, but be careful. 2 things are going on at the same time, increase and cable knitting. So please watch my video carefully. Increasing row number 1, that's my biggie marker. Right after the biggie marker, left side of the biggie marker, another word, I am going to increase 1. So knit 1, then make 1 left, because left side of the biggie marker. Pick up the running thread and hook onto left needle like that. The running thread shifting left side, then knit back loop. This is make 1 left. Then I change the marker for cable. Let's start cable knitting. Row number 1, right side. Purl 1, knit 8, purl 1. Very straightforward. And some people think, what do you mean right side? There's no wrong side. You will need to know which side you're on later on. So just hold on. All right? Anyway, this is cable row number 1. There we go. The last stitch, purl 1, and then again I'm going to change the marker for cable. There you go. And there's only 1 stitch left, so pick up the running thread and make 1 right there. This time because you are right side of the marker. Then knit 1. Again, row number 1, every marker, right and left, you have to increase. And left side, knit 1, and then make 1 left. Picking up the running thread, hook onto left needle, and then make sure you know the running thread is shifting left side. Then now you need to knit back loop. This is make one left. And knit until the other side of the marker. So again, after the cable knitting, stitch count will be increased every rows, right? So you gotta be very careful. Always one stitch before and one stitch right after. And here comes one stitch left, so I am going to do make one right because right side of the marker. There we go. Running thread is shifting right, and then now knit front loop. Then knit one. Slide the marker and knit one first because left side, then make one left. Same thing. Again. Increasing row number 1, you have to increase every marker. So begin marker, marker 1, 2, 3, right? So I will ended up increasing 8 stitch. Now I move on to the cable knitting, which is same as last time. So, and this is straightforward, so I'm not gonna worry about that too much. I kind of worry about the increasing because it's a little confusing, but I will tell you how to, you know, not to get confused later on. All right. Anyway, I'm just trying to making sure. And this is a magic loop technique that I'm using. So lots of things to do, but just take your time. And last one, purl 1. Then I don't like this temporary marker, so I'm going to change. And then here comes the increasing marker. So again, make one right, pick up the running thread, hook onto left needle, then knit front thread. So now you kind of, you know, have idea, right? And then knit last one, then slide the marker. Always around the marker. Then left side, knit one first, then use the running thread and do the make one left. Then knit. And I'm actually entering back piece now, and it's same, so I just go faster, right? There we go. That's one of the back design. And I knit the other side and I do same thing. As I told you, I add cable design, 2 of them on the back. And here comes end of row number 1. Here comes end of row number 1, and this is important. You have to increase before the begin marker because begin marker is one of the sleeve marker as well. So right side of the begin marker, so I have to do make one right here, increase. So whenever you knit on the row number 1, please don't forget the last increase. So let's see. For the cable design, I add 1 for right, 1 for left, there, then 2 for back piece. I didn't add any design for the chest part. No design. And increase every marker. And I'm going to tell you one more time about the design. Design need 10 stitches. If you're needing smaller size and if you don't have enough stitch for sleeves, what you can do is you can adjust the stitch. You know, maybe 1 or 2 stitch from the mid chest or back piece, stuff like that. You kind of move around. Or you can wait because, again, you're increasing, right? However, you know, you might get confused because back piece, you know, design starts already because you have enough stitches. But for the sleeve, you know, you have to wait, you know, a couple rows, blah, blah, blah. So just, you know, anything easier for you. All right? You don't have to add cable design on sleeve either. Increasing row number 2, all knit. No increasing at all. So super easy. And for the cable design, you have to follow the written pattern, which is row number 2, wrong side, same as row number 1. Purl 1, knit 8, and purl 1. So row number 2 and row number 4 should be the easiest rows because no cable knitting and no increasing. The increasing and cable knitting take a place on odd number of the row. So you really have to check my written pattern. And here comes increasing row number 3. I will increase only inside of the leg. So you know exactly where. I got the begin marker and the next blue marker inside. Inside. You know what I'm saying? Right? So let's do this through together. That's a begin marker, right? So knit 1, then make 1 left because left side of the begin marker. So make 1 left and knit until the cable marker, here comes, and cable row number 3. Purl 1, then C4F, which is cable for front. Pick up the 2 stitch with cable needle, put out front, then knit 2 from left needle, come back to cable needle, then knit 2 from cable needle. This is cable for front, C4F. Then right after that, C4B, which is cable for back. Pick up the 2 stitch with cable needle, then put out the back. Then knit 2 from left needle, come back to cable needle, then knit 2 from cable needle. This is cable for back, C4B. Then purl 1. This is cable row number 3. So every, cable row, you do same thing. And right after that, increasing. That's still within sleeve. So before last 1 stitch, you have to make 1 right, because right side of the marker. And I just did make 1 right, then knit 1. Slide the marker, and there you go. That's a mid chest. So no increasing. All knit until next marker. However, the end of this, section, still no increase. After the marker 2, I will increase. So just on it. There you go. And this is marker 2, slide. Then right there, that's a left sleeve, right? So knit one, make one left now because left side of the marker. There we go. And here comes cable. So busy. So just hang in there. Purl 1, this is cable row number 3, and C4F. Pick up 2 stitch with cable and hold that cable out front. Then knit 2 from left needle, come back to cable needle, then knit 2 from cable needle. This is C4F, and right after C4F, I have to do C4B, which is pick up 2, hold it at the back, knit 2 from left needle, come back to cable needle, after knit 2 from left, here comes, and knit 2 from cable needle. This is C4B. After C4B, purl 1. And then this is still with some left sleeve. So you have to increase, right? There we go. Knit until last one. There we go. And right here, make one right this time. And then knit one, slide the marker, and after that, this is back piece, right? So no increasing. So just forget about increasing. Knit until the cable marker. Then you have to do cable row number 3. It's a little bit busy, but when you're knitting, just take your time and read my written pattern and just follow my written instruction, and you should be able to, knit without any confusion. After this, increasing row number 4 is all knit, same as row number 2. Increasing complete on row number 4, and you just have to repeat row number 1 to row number 4 until the sleeve length is long enough to meet under the dog's leg. So the right side and left side, the both end has to meet. Okay, this is the old sweater I knitted it, Raglan sweater, right? And right there, that's gotta be dog's armpit. So you have to make sure the sleeve you knit long enough. And back piece, you just have to knit. And I am going to create the leash opening on the center of back. So you just keep knitting and knitting. And I believe leash opening comes first. And then I will stop knitting full sleeve and separate them. And one more thing, I actually told you earlier, if you're knitting this sweater for little chubby dog, or dog has a big chest like a bulldog, you can also increase the front piece, well, and back piece. It's really up to you, because row number 3, I only increase for sleeves, right? Because my dog has a small chest. So it's really up to your dog, and you can customize. Okay, so here comes leash opening. I don't even remember which row I was on. However, this is the time, so I put the 2 markers and 10 stitches in between 2 markers. And leash row number 1, just bind off. So for me, 10 stitch, that's good enough. So I bind off 10 stitch. This is so easy. If you ever watch my dog sweater tutorial, I always use this technique for leash opening and leg opening, right? So just bind off 10 stitch, and you just have to be careful one thing. When you hit the second marker, you only did one more to go. For me, I have to bind off 10, right? But now this is 8th and this is 9th bind off. Where is one more? That's the one on the right side. So I have to knit one more and bind off after I remove the second marker. That's the only thing you have to be careful. And you just knit whatever, then meet you back there. So one more stitch to go, and there's no more stitch, right? Of course, because I bind off. So now I have to add new cast, which is same stitch count as you bind off. I bind off 10 stitch, so I am going to add 10 stitch to balance it out. That creates our opening hole. That's gonna be my leash opening. And this is 2 rows button hole technique, right? And just keep, knitting after this until the sleeve is long enough. And I'll show you the picture, the timing. You have to stop knitting for sleeves. Here comes. And if you don't have a dog with you, you just have to measure. And here's the picture. Make sure it's long enough and both ends meet underneath of dog's armpit. So this is the time for me to separate 2 sleeves out of the body. The right sleeves is right there, one with the cable, and that's my mid chest. Then left sleeve. Those 2 cables are back piece. And I am going to make sleeve like that, right? And let me show you my old sweater. We're looking at the from top like that, and that's the first sleeve. That's mid chest. Then the other side of the sleeve and back. And as I told you, with the scrap yarn, I am going to separate the sleeves. Don't use stitch holder, and make sure which row you're on, because you have to knit a little bit more sleeves later, right? But I'm on row number 9 after the beginning marker. However, I'm not knitting the sleeve, which means when you start knitting your sleeve again, for me, row 9 to start. So you really have to figure it out, okay? If you're on row number 11 or 12, whatever, you're not knitting that row. Everything else, the whole body except the sleeve, you will knit, but not the sleeve. So that's what you have to remember. For me, those stitch should be row number 8. So next would be row number 9. You know what I'm saying? if you're not adding any cable knitting, you don't really have to worry about this too much. That because I have cable on the sleeve and I want to continue, that's why I have to remember which row you're on and then which row you will be knitting. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, tight the knot and make sure it's secure. You don't want to lose any stitch. And then now you reconnect back piece and front piece. And I am going to add 4 new cast underneath of dog's armpit. And this is up to you. If the sleeve is already too big, you don't have to add any stitch. Or if your dog, the chest is too big or legs are too chunky, you can add more cast. It's up to you. But for me, 4 stitch is enough. And after I add 4 stitch, I'm just move on to next section, which is the chest part. Again, this new cast is your last chance to adjust the size. Well, you know, if you want to make it a little bit bigger. You know what I'm saying? And you do exactly same thing for the other sleeve. So I'm not gonna talk about it too much. But again, I just knit mid-chest. That was row number 9, right? However, for the sleeve, I'm not knitting. I'm transferring the sleeve stitch onto scrap yarn because I'm not going to knit sleeve until I finish the body. By the way, just a couple seconds ago, I told you this was the last chance to adjust the sizes, right? You know, depend on how many new cast you want to add, right? Which means no more increasing for the body or sleeves. You know what I'm saying? This is end of the increasing row. So it's much easier after you separate the sleeve from body, because you just focus on the cable design. Everything else is all knit. So super easy. I just add the 4 stitch and start knitting back piece. And whatever you know the row on, you just keep knitting for cable design. Don't forget about that, okay? After this, for the body, just knit around. And one thing I want to tell you about, the scrap yarn area, don't use the stitch holder. If it's, a stitch holder, it's too hard to knit body because the sleeve is not flexible like this. You know what I'm saying? So don't use the stitch holder. And again, I just want to make sure, leave the sleeve as is and finish the body. So I meet you whenever you hit the desired length for tummy. Tummy should be shorter than back because, they have to pee and you don't want to get the sweater dirty, right? And think, if you want to add longer rib at the bottom, you kind of have to stop earlier. You know what I'm saying? So you kind of have to have some kind of the idea for rib. Also, the sleeves, make sure which row you will be on, for me, row 9. Write it down right now. And another reason not to use stitch holder, if you want to put the sweater on your dog to make sure, you can do this because scrap yarn will be flexible, right? Okay, I knit and knit and knit, and I knit enough for tummy. I repeat 16 row full cable 3 times, and you have to finish on wrong side, because for the back piece I want to start with right side. And whenever you're ready, add 2 markers for tummy. For me, 17 stitch right in the center. You kind of count from backwards, right, from the back piece, and count evenly from both sides, and then right in the center for tummy. You don't really have to take the whole half. You know what I'm saying? Now back piece starts again, and then at the same time I am going to decrease both sides. First of all, just knit until second tummy marker. So just start. This is right side. For me, this is row number 1, which is right side, because I repeat cable knitting 3 times and that's it, right? So this is row number 1. And when you knit until second tummy marker, now transfer all the tummy stitches onto stitch holder. This time you can use the stitch holder because you're gonna keep them kind of rest for a little while. There we go. And now decreasing starts both end. And you know, cable knitting and all that, you just keep, you know, following my written pattern. Just both ends I will decrease little by little. Well, every other row, you know, on right side I am going to. And now working yarn attached to last stitch on the stitch holder, but don't worry about it. It will move on. Anyway, decreasing row number 1, which is cable knitting row number 1 as well for me. So knit 1 and then SSK. Knit 1 and slip, slip, knit. I decrease 1 stitch here and then knit until last 3 stitch. And in the middle, you do whatever you have to do, you know, for the cable design and everything. From now on, it's going to be so easy for a little while because less stitch and less cable knitting. Super easy. Anyway, meet you end of this row. There you go. This is end of row number 1 for me, the right side. For you, I don't know which row, but has to be right side, right? And here comes 3 stitch left, and the other side I use SSK. This side I use knit 2 together. So knit 2 together to decrease 1 stitch there and knit 1 to finish. And now you're knitting on flat, so turn around. Well, you know, it's already kind of turned, and you just have to knit over knit stitch and purl over purl stitch. You know what I'm saying? So decreasing row number 1 and row number 2, super easy. Just repeat those 2 rows, and then the cable design you have to follow. And for the wrong side of the cable knitting, just knit over knit, purl over purl, but I put the written pattern in flat. It's super easy, but if you get confused, you can go check that written pattern. So one thing I want to tell you, if you want a longer back piece without losing too many stitch, because your dog is skinny, so you don't really have enough stitches, but want to have long back, you just have to decrease slower. I knit every rows. No, I'm sorry. I decrease every rows, right? So you should decrease every 4 rows. You know what I'm saying? So row number 1, you decrease 1 each side, and row number 2, 3, 4, you don't decrease, and row number 5, you decrease again, kind of thing, right? So then you can make it longer without losing too many stitches. For me, this is okay this time. So I am going to decrease every other row, which means every right side of the row I am going to decrease. Also, if it's too short, I can add as a rib, right? Longer rib. So it's really up to you, the length I'm talking about. And next clip, I already knit long enough for me. And once you knit long enough, you reconnect everything. Front, back piece, and side. So let's start connecting everything. So this is going to be last decrease. Whenever you connect, has to be facing to right side. So knitting stitch side. And it doesn't really matter, right side or wrong side, as long as you're facing to outside of the, the sweater. All right. And end of the back piece, I am going to decrease again because I did, to start, I, use SSK to start, right? So I just did the knit together and knit. Now on the side, there's no more stitch. So I am going to knit up. It's going to be really hard sometimes. If you have a crochet hook, you can, use the crochet hook to, pull the yarn out. It's really up to you. And you make sure, count how many stitch you knit up, because you have the other side. It's going to be same length. So you don't want to, knit up 20 this side and only 10 this side. You don't want to do that. If it's 1 or 2 stitch, fine. But more than 3, maybe not. Okay, so, and if you knit up way too many, it looks a little bit wavy. So, you kind of have to knit up evenly. You know what I'm saying? And after knit up on the side, front piece, you're holding the stitch, right? And I just knit right out of the stitch holder. you can transfer onto needle. You can do that, but you know, I'm lazy, so I just knit from the stitch holder. And after tummy stitch, the other side of come in, so you have to knit up again. And again, same stitch count, you have to knit up. And then after that, you will start making rib. Also, I want stitch count even number, multiple of 2, because my rib is knit 1 and purl 1, the group of 2, right? So you have to adjust, you know, here to make it, you know, multiple of 2. So you can start with knit 1 and end with purl 1. And now I put the begin marker back again, and then as I told you, the rib starts, which is knit 1 and purl 1. Repeat of knit 1 and purl 1 until your desired length. I did about tiny bit over 1 inch, and this is the last chance you know, adjust the length if you want to get longer, but be careful around the tummy. Okay, you don't want to get too long for tummy area. And here comes just about inch, and I'm done. So I'm going to bind off, but I want at the end kind of stretchy, so I'm going to use 1 size bigger needle. So I was using 4 millimeter, so now I use 5 millimeter to bind off. You know, using bigger size of the needle, you need tiny bit of more fabric to use. You know what I'm saying? So it will stretch a little bit because, you know, more fabric. You know what I'm saying? And this is end of bind off. And if you want more stretchy, there's a way. And if you ever watch my, you know, basic dog sweater tutorial, I used that stretchy bind off technique. But 1 size bigger needle, that's actually enough sometimes. So why don't you try that first? Because it's easier. Almost there. Just weave the ends off. And after that, I'm gonna finish up the sleeves. I already did 1 sleeve to show you. There you go. So just transfer all the sleeve stitch onto needle. I did XOX, so I'm gonna finish the old design, then add rib. That's it. And I am going to connect with the bottom part right there. Do you remember I add new cast? I add 4 new cast. I don't know for you, but I add 4. So I have to knit up those 4, stitch up. However, if I only knit up those 4, there's gotta be big gap both sides, right there and right there. And I don't like that. So I'm going to give you a really neat tip to minimize the gap right there, and the other side as well. If you knit up only for the where you add the new cast, you create the gap. But my technique, you minimize the gap. You need clip-on marker, and then one last stitch in front of it, add marker there. So that's last stitch. That's the where I start and then ended up over here. So I add clip-on marker. If you don't have clip marker, use the scrap yarn. And the other marker, just leave it. And add 4 casts there, right? I am going to knit up there, but in front of that adding 4 cast, I am going to knit up 1 extra there. So in between last stitch and then add 4 cast, you knit 1 up there. That's the last, right? And right after that, knit up 1 stitch and then knit 4 up for me, the where I add new cast. So if you add 6 new cast, all right, you can knit up 6 and 1 each both sides, so it's gonna be 8. For me, 4 plus 2 extra, so I am going to knit up 6 in total. So 1, 2, 3, 4. But I have to knit up 6. So 1 there. There you go. So 1 extra and 4 cast. Then add marker. Then I have to knit up 1 more extra. This is very important. So right here, knit 1 last extra one, and next stitch should be first original marker. Did you get that? So that's last one, right? Then knit this row until the first marker. What I'm going to do is after the marker, I have to decrease 1 stitch because I add 2 extra, right? 1 for the first marker and 1 for the last marker. So just knit 1 round. And like I said, for the cable knitting, this is row 9 for me. So just follow the written pattern for the cable knitting, and everything else just all knit until the first marker. And here comes. I'm reaching marker 1. And whenever you hit the marker 1, remove. Then I'm going to decrease 1 stitch. 1 last original stitch and 1 extra stitch. I do SSK. Slip, slip, knit. So I increase 1 stitch there to knit up, then now SSK to decrease to minimize the gap. And this technique you can use for regular sweater. Good to know. And knit until second marker. Now that's the last knit up stitch, right? So you have to make knit two together to decrease, and knit two together with last knit up stitch and first original stitch to minimize the big gap. And I actually add biggie marker, and after this you just knit until your desired length for sleeve. For me, I started with row number 9 and finished the cable knitting, which is row number 16. Then I'm going to add rib. That's about it. But the rib, I use the smaller needle. Here comes. I finished the cable design, and this is long enough sleeve for my dog. Then I'm going to make a rib, which is repeat of knit 1 and purl 1 with one size smaller needle, because if I use the smaller needle, the band looks a little bit like a tighter, and that maybe looks better, my opinion. But you know, this needle thing, it's really up to you. You know, if you don't really like changing needle so many times, you don't really need to. It doesn't really change much, just a little bit for me. So, and after the rib, I am going to change the needle again back onto 4mm one. And why I changed the needle again, that's because I want the sleeve stretchy. You know, I knit the dog sweater for fun and everything. I don't even know he want to wear it or not, but one thing for sure, I want him to comfortable. So I try anything, you know, for him to be very comfortable. Anyway, I finish binding off and wave the ends off, and that's about it. And I'm sorry I used the neon color of yarn, so it was not clear enough, you know, but you know, I'm trying to use the leftover yarn. So anyway, here's the thing, the sleeve connection, there's no hole, maybe tiny bit, but whenever you weave the ends off, you can cover that tiny hole if you want, but you don't really have to because there's no gap really. Anyway, this is it, the neck, and then the back piece, the cable design, beautiful Xoxo two-stud cable design. I love it, and I'm glad I have the cable design